So good afternoon, everyone. As you know already how this goes, I'm going to introduce myself, talk a little bit of what we are going to discuss today. And if you have any questions, please use the chat button at the bottom of the screen to interact with our great speakers. So my name is Isabel. I'm part of the executive committee of PARSUC, Portuguese Association of Researchers and Students in the United Kingdom. And we aim to represent the interests of Portuguese speakers and students in the UK. We function as a network to promote the research done by PARSUC members and to bring together our community and researchers in Portugal and Portuguese-speaking countries. I want to welcome all of you and thank you for registering for this ENVOLVE training program, the last session. I hope you have been enjoying. And this is a partnership between PARSUC and Fundação Carlos Gulbenkian. The webinar, as you know, is being recorded for educational purposes. So if you don't want and you don't feel comfortable, please feel free to mute or to switch the camera off. Also, I want to ask you to please fill in a feedback form, which will be sent to you at the end of the session. And this really helps with further future training. And today we will hear more about careers. So the session today has a different format. So it will be a virtual roundtable with our three speakers, Dr. Enitome Bafor, Dr. Elhajji, Amadou Niang, and Dr. Calvin Tiengwe. Sorry if I misspelled something. And during this session today, we'll hear about their career journeys. And so if you have any question, please do ask. What I thought about starting with would be a brief roundtable introduction, like 5 to 10 minutes, just saying who you are, where do you come from, where you are currently. And perhaps we can start with Tome.
Thank you, Isabel. Hello, everyone. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. So 5 minutes to talk about myself very briefly. I am a Nigerian. I am from Nigeria, and I have expertise in reproductive immunology. I am currently a senior postdoctoral fellow at the National Institutes of Health in the United States of America. And prior to that, I did a postdoc at the University of Liverpool. I also did my PhD at the University of Strathclyde, that's in Glasgow, Scotland. And my MSc was in Nigeria, University of Benin. It's been a long road, but it's very interesting. And I've had opportunities to be in different countries to learn leadership skills in both administration and academia. And I'll be happy to discuss further in this session. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Dr. Calvin, would you like to go next?
Yes, Isabel, thank you very much. So you already know I'm Calvin. I'm originally from Cameroon. So I did my bachelor's in biochemistry in Cameroon, and then I moved to the UK about 16 years ago now. And I spent a year doing a master's at the University of Nottingham. And like Tome, I went to Glasgow to do a PhD for 4 years. And then I moved subsequently to the United States, where I did 2 postdocs, first at Johns Hopkins Medical School in Baltimore, Maryland. And then I moved upstate to New York at the State University of New York in Buffalo, where I did a second postdoc. And then in about 3 years ago, I moved to Imperial College in London, where I am currently, I run a research program on African sleeping sickness. Anything about that, and I'll be willing to answer questions on my career path and the different steps and the decisions that I've made on the way. Thank you.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you so much. What I was going to ask Dr. Tome, I mean, if it's okay for you, can I just, you know, use Tome and Calvin and the formalities. If you have any link that you could share here on the chat for them to see, you know, your groups or any more information would be great, I think. Sure. And last but not least, Elhajji, can you please give us a few words on your who you are and your career so far?
Yeah, thanks. So, and good morning, good evening, everyone and everybody. So I'm Elhajji Amadou Niang. So I am Senegalese born, and I did all my study in Senegal from the primary school to the university. So I did, let's say, natural science until the master degree. Then I did my PhD in what is called medical entomology, mostly focusing on insects, especially mosquitoes transmitting disease. So then I had the opportunity to work for an NGO, which is known as Clinton Health Access Initiative, as a volunteer in Swaziland. And the aim of doing that was actually being a French-speaking person. So I wanted actually to master my English, improve my English to really be able to push forward my research career. After that, I got an opportunity to do a postdoc in Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine, the vector biology department. Then I did a second postdoc in Marseille, in Elhajji. Most of you probably has heard about Professor Didier Raoult. So I was there for 2 years. And then so I got two projects, one MRC project, which allowed me actually to partner with a neighboring country, Gambia, and also a Welcome Trust project also, which allowed me to go back to Senegal because after 5 years, I wanted to go back to Senegal actually to work with people over there. And now I have been hired as an assistant professor at UCAD, Cheikh Anta Diop University. And meanwhile, also I'm actually also appointed as also the Vector Control Research Associate in the Clinton Health Access Initiative, supporting 3 countries, Burkina Faso, Benin, and DRC. So that's so far what I can. I'm involved in vector control, supporting NMC, National Malaria Programs, and also training technician, training staff on vector control, and also monitoring evaluation of vector control. Mm-hmm. Happy to be here and to share our experience.
Thank you. I mean, I think I speak for all of us. It's amazing journeys that the 3 of you have. It's impressive, and congratulations for it. So please, anyone that if you have any questions, please interact. Just get all the information that you want from this seminar. Because everyone is a bit shy, I'm going to start with a couple of questions, and I will probably start with Tome. So you're from Nigeria, studied in there, you have been in the UK, you are now in the US. How important do you think is to move around and to get experience in all these different countries?
Yeah, thank you, Isabel. Moving around, I would say before you do that, before you decide how important that is, you need to have a goal. You need to ask yourself why you need to do that. So every country has its peculiarities, its weaknesses, and its strengths. When I started my research in Nigeria, if you're someone, and I guess almost, if not everyone present in this call has this love for research and developing yourself, you may find that there's certain things that you just cannot achieve where you are. And that creates the need for you to go elsewhere in order to achieve either the skills, make use of the resources, or even just developing your network. And that was what I found out. And that was when I started to, make every effort to, improve myself and get better. In other words, to function at the tip of the spear, if you want to put it that way. So if that's your case, then yes, look for where you need to, where you can develop the skill that you're looking for, where you need to improve. And that makes it important. But besides that, I do not, I do encourage traveling around, even if it's just for networking purposes, even if you have everything you need in your own country. I do encourage that we go and see different cultures. You will be amazed how widely different research cultures are, in different countries and different places, and being aware of all of this. So I've worked in the UK, I've worked in Nigeria, I've worked in Germany, I've worked in Nigeria, and I'm now in the US. And you find all of these different research cultures, which you can put together and helps you understand, a lot of things. And, even when you're reviewing papers, you get to understand where they're coming from as well. So I do think it's important. That's my personal opinion, that we move around. If not for skills development and for networking purposes. You'll be amazed how far you can go just by networking alone. So I personally do encourage that. You should if you can.
I don't know if Calvin, Elhajji, do you have anything to add on this? What are your views?
Calvin, do you want to go ahead?
Okay, I can. So for me,
and how easy was to find that positions? Like, how did you get that momentum as well?
Okay, so first of all, I agree with everything Thomas said, which is you need to have a goal, otherwise there's no point moving around, right? But for me, I didn't have much career advice at the beginning. So I knew I wanted to do a PhD. So I looked for scholarship because I couldn't afford to pay the tuition fee. So I looked for scholarships everywhere. I was lucky I had one funded by the Wellcome Trust to go to Glasgow. And I knew I wanted to work on tropical diseases. So I picked African sleeping sickness. And working on that for 4 years, it turned out my supervisor knew someone in the US who was looking for someone just about the time when I finished. Then I went for the interview, I got that job. And then in the US, my supervisor knew someone again, and then I moved. At that point, I'm not sure where I'm going, okay? So there's no set goal, that's another, right? I just knew after you do a PhD, do a postdoc, and then I might go back to Africa. But then looking back, I think there are a number of key things that I would say shaped some of those decisions which happened by chance, okay? And the first is that I always had a goal that I wanted to work on a tropical disease, right? So that was the main goal. And then I asked myself, what do I want to learn about this disease? And so I started working on DNA replication. I stuck with DNA replication in the same organism. And I went to the US, I worked on the same organism, but I changed the techniques that I was using. So the second thing is the supervisor, right? So if you want to switch from one lab to the other, you have to think, how big is this group? How interactive is the supervisor going to be? There are two types of groups. You can have a big group where, you don't have a lot of interaction with the supervisor, so you get an intermediate supervising you. Or you can have a small group with a small PI that you have one-to-one interaction. So those are some of the considerations that I can think back now. But I was fortunate that I always worked in a small group where I had direct supervision, right? And then while I was in the US, I realized that the system, it's very difficult to rise to an assistant professor level. So it's very competitive because there's an influx of a lot of postdocs from across all continents, okay? So this is the hub of postdoctoral fellows. And then because I had some experience in the UK, I figured out somehow that it was easier for me to become a PI in the UK than in the US. So the average age to get your first independent fellowship, or let me say R01 grant, in the US is about 40, 41, 42. In the UK, it's between 35, 36, 37, okay? So I was about that age, and I figured that if I wanted to become an independent researcher, I had to move back to the UK. And of course, one of the things which Tommy said is, the networking is important. So I knew a few people back here who mentored me, who supported me. Now, I'm not saying that it's not possible to become an independent researcher in the US, but you have to figure out what your strengths are, how competitive you are in the environment, and the type of research you want to do, what fellowships are available. So these are just some of the considerations that I took into account.
Thank you. Tomei, you wanted to add something?
Yes, yes, I wanted to. So, first of all, first thing he said was his PI introduced him to another PI, and that's networking, right? You know, so that's what it's about. And you can't underpin the power of networking. You don't know where it's going to get you. And you guys meeting us here, you've improved your network already. Yeah. You know, so by contacting us, you know, we can, you know, assist in different ways. Second thing was, you know, he talked about, you know, knowing your research strengths. The US is very competitive, but that should not discourage you. That should actually make you, you know, put in your very, very best. You know, there are some places that you can actually tweak if you want to become a PI, especially within, or should I call it tenure track positions within the NIH. So it's possible. You just need to understand these things and like work hard for it and going for it. And then I was also going to very, very quickly add, sorry, Elhajji. No. In my introduction, I forgot to add, I think this is very relevant. I'm a mom. I'm a mother with 3 children. Oh. And I have carried them with me throughout my academic journey. They are here with me. I'm alone here with my 3 kids. For my PhD, I was alone with my 3 kids. And by God's grace, I achieved everything I achieved, even while raising a family as well.
Amazing.
That's not an easy. It's not an easy.
Wonderful. No, big respect. And so yeah, I think they said also, just try to summarize things. First of all, you need to have a PDP, which is a personal development plan, which can be actually formal or informal. So it's just about, as Calvin said, he knew that he wanted to work on tropical disease. He wanted to know, he knew that he wanted to do a PhD. That's a plan actually. Then it could be formal, it could be informal. So formal, you have a lot of, let's say, resources where you can actually draw your personal development plan and say, okay, this is where I want to be in 5 years or 10 years. And actually to be able to be there, let's say in 5 years, these are the skills I need, these are the training I need, and to be able to do this training, these are the, let's say, the places where this training is actually given, or these are the person actually leading this area. And then start, as Tomei said, networking. It's all about knowing what you want, where you want to be, and then work hard to improve your skill, and also actually enlarge or widen your network. And it's about also, like as said Calvin, because sometimes things happen timely. So you've done your PhD and there is some opportunities that are actually here. But that means also you need to be proactive, looking for opportunities. Don't wait until your supervisor came and gave you an opportunity or tell you that, okay, there is something happening here, you should do it. You should be proactive. You should, since you know what you want and you know your skill, you know your weakness, work hard actually to strengthen your weakness. For myself, I think if you remember, I said so after my PhD. So by the end of my PhD, I had the opportunity to go to a conference in US, in California. That was my first time, a very fancy place, which is called Palm Springs. So I went there. I was able actually to do my presentation in English. I made sure actually to be able actually to say everything by heart. And it was a very nice presentation, and I was able actually to answer the question. But during the break, I found out, okay, so I have a problem. People was coming, trying to interact with me, trying to get more information, trying actually to network with me, but I was not able really to take the most of that. And I realized, okay, so it was clear. And for me, it was clear that I wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to work on tropical disease as Kelvin, because in Africa, most of us have experienced malaria. And when I was doing my study, I was looking on some opportunity to make sure that I would be working in a field where I will be dealing with malaria. And then I had the luck. It was not clear that I would be an entomologist or parasitologist. But then after doing my 5 years study, at that time it was what we call in French system there, maîtrise. After my maîtrise, which is the equivalent of let's say master, so I had to look for a laboratory. So I went to 2 labs. The first was a parasito one, the second was an anto. And as Kelvin said, I went to the parasito. They said, okay, it's okay. You have a very good, let's say, profile. So we'll have you with us. But then I went to the anto lab, who was a new one, and I heard that those people, there was a small group, but they were so intensively working and taking care of their student, making sure that the student was the best, because I was asking questions around, trying to really understand what is the best team for me to actually develop very quickly, to be independent, yes. And then, so both of the lab was agreed to have me, host me. Then I went actually back to what I can call my mentor. He was not a scientist. He was not working in the area I intended to work, but he was someone who, whenever I wanted to discuss, whenever I want to have an advice, so he would sit and listen to me and then give me very objective feedback. Then I explained him the both situation. He told me, okay, since you want to be actually independent, and even this team is a very small one, but the fact that you say the PI was very interactive with the student, there was no, let's say, border between them and the student, and they were working hard. And if you look at the statistics, so they had all the best students coming from that lab, so you should go there. And then this is when I decided, okay, this is malaria, but rather than doing parasito, I'll go and do medical entomology. So, and I did my PhD with those people. And by the end, the fact that I said, when I was doing my PhD, I found that I need to improve my English. Then I decided after my PhD, the first thing I will work on would be to make sure that my English would be actually much more fluent and better than it was. So, and then I decided right after my PhD to look for an opportunity, which is working in an English-speaking country. And then I found this advertisement with a position in Swaziland, looking for a medical entomologist for Clinton Health Access Initiative for 6 months. And I decided to go, I go back to my mentor and my supervisor, and we discussed. I told them, so this is 6-month position, and it will help me actually to improve my English. And I think this will benefit all of us. And that's the way I did it. And then, since I knew that after the PhD, I wanted to be a scientist, and there is, let's say, a novel scale actually going toward my objective was make sure that I do PhD. I did all my training in Senegal, all my training in Africa. I wanted actually to have, let's say, experience elsewhere. And I think to your question was why moving around is important, because so sometimes when you are in a place, you don't see opportunity, you don't, sometimes you learn, let's say you won't be able to develop yourself above or better than what you've already done. And actually you need to challenge yourself, go in new area, being able to interact with new people, being able to learn new method, new techniques, and interact with new people, so that it will widen your experience and the way you view things. And I looked for an opportunity, which was the RF fellow. I was one of the first RF fellow and so I had the opportunity to be placed in UK, and it was very good because during that time one of the output was to come up with a project which will be submitted to NIH or Wellcome Trust. And I was lucky also in Liverpool. I had very good team, very good supervisor and sponsor, and we come up with a very nice project which was funded. And then my objective was actually to go back. So I stopped that. And if there is any questions, so
Thank you. We have a couple of questions here already, and I think it's for all of you, but I would like to start with Tome. Did you ever thought about going back to Nigeria in this case? And if so, depending on the answer, why have you decided to stay, or what are your plans?
Thank you. So I did go back, and I'm going back actually stalled kind of, my research stalled, and because I'm going to be honest, when I first left, I didn't, going back wasn't on my mind, but then as you grow on, you realize you want to give back, to where you're from. You want to go back and, share this knowledge. I mean, apart from that, there's some fellowships you get that insist that you go back. But I didn't have that fellowship, but I went back anyway. I stayed and I made a lot of effort to rebuild, make a difference where I was. And so one of the first things I did when I got back was to establish a laboratory. And with my connections in the UK, I was able to get an equipment donation. I frequently would invite professors from the UK to come in to, talk to people. So as I speak to you, there's a very big functioning lab in a faculty where I'm from, and eventually rose to the ranks of assistant dean, where I was able to make more changes and institute what is called a faculty research day, like we used to do in the UK. I try to bring a lot of those things back. I hope they continue. So I did go back. Initially, I didn't want to, but I did. And I'm glad I did, because I think I made an impact. Right now, I'm going to be honest and say I may not go back fully, but I want to kind of have like this, I want to kind of be like a bridge, have this contract where I can go back and I can get students from there here, and things like that. That's one way you can help them. Mm-hmm. If you are in these places of position, then you can, bring people here and make connections for them as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, Calvin. Do you plan going back, or?
So for me, I see this is a long journey home. Okay, so we work on something that doesn't really affect the Western world, which is transmitted by a fly that doesn't really exist here, and it's not a problem here, right? So this is to gain the skills, the knowledge, the expertise to eventually go back. I go back every year since I've been back in the UK to teach. So I'm an adjunct professor at the University of Ghana. I do exchange with students. So I have 2 PhD students over there, and they come here to my lab in London and they spend 3 months. Eventually, the plan is to go back, but you have to be able to build the network, the expertise, and the technical expertise, but also be able to gain a reputation, okay, that shows that you can deliver the science back in Africa. Right now, it's very limited. So I go there, they have top of the range equipment, but it's underused, it's underutilized. And the problem is there's not enough expertise, there's not enough resources, there's not enough private and public funding from the government for diseases that really affect the people, right? So we have to think, how can we build capacity? And it's you, okay, and us, okay, who would be able to have the capacity that if there's an outbreak or an Ebola outbreak, there's a COVID outbreak in Africa, we are the people responding to that. And so going back is not a question, it's when, okay? It's not whether to go back, but it's just when, and the time will come for that.
Awesome. Thanks. Elhajji, anything to add to this? Or what are your plans?
Yeah, so I'm already back. So I think it was clear before I leave my country that at some point I would be back. And having that in mind, so I made sure that I didn't break any link that I had. So, and when I was leaving my country, I made sure all the projects I was working on, my host laboratory was involved. My supervisor, my boss in the laboratory was involved. So, and when I was doing my postdoc, I made sure also having master's student in the project. I made sure also having PhD student in the project. And that way allow me actually to just have, let's say, one foot in my host laboratory while being abroad. And I was able actually to produce a lot of paper with my host laboratory, which was also at the university and which was also the national reference unit of our NMCP.
Mm-hmm.
Then, based on that, so I had strong link and I was able actually to evolve in my own laboratory, even if I was abroad. So I was in the lab, I was attending to meetings virtually, and eventually every year I made sure to go back and teach. So that's what I did. And then it was a matter of making sure when I would decide actually to go back, I come back with my own project to be really independent.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the fact that I did my first postdoc in UK and made sure that I submitted my welcome trust proposal. Then I went to France actually to strengthen also some relationship I had previously. And then once I got the Welcome Trust Fellowship, so it was clear it was the time for me to go back. Mm-hmm. And I decided actually to go back. And I still actually also having good tie and good relationship with my previous hosting laboratory where I did my PhD. Actually, the project I'm doing in the Welcome Trust funding, I have a lot of collaborators which are from UK, so from the Sanger Institute, from Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine, from Lancaster University, making sure that all those connections still alive. Mm-hmm. And I tried also, while I was there, to give opportunity to all the fellows in my lab. So I was able actually to participate and have some of my fellow or teammate which was in Senegal to come in Liverpool. Some of them went to Kiel University. Mm-hmm. And so we built very strong relationship between both labs. And this is very, very good thing. So we're still working on that. I think it's a matter of planning and also making sure that if you decide to go back, you make sure that you come with your own means, own resources, because it's sometimes very difficult in Africa actually to do research because as Calvin says, so there is limited resources. So, and it may actually hamper your work and hamper your career. And that's actually planning and thinking timely when it's the time to go back.
Thank you. I would like to get opportunity for everyone here to add their own question. I saw that someone raised their hands. I'd like just to encourage you to ask.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to congratulate for your career. It's very interesting. My name is Emilia Pinto. I'm from Mozambique, and my interesting area is palliative care. Two of my three questions was already answered. One of them was if you are thinking to return to your country, and it was answered. The second one is when, and I already have the answer. And the last one is, what are the projects that you are developing in your country while you didn't decide yet to return definitely to your country? Thank you.
Who would you like to start? Calvin.
Oh, okay. So why I didn't return immediately and what projects we're running back. So I haven't decided to return immediately because I think I am not yet qualified to return. I still look at myself as in training because I'm just a junior research fellow. So I've only been running a lab for 3 years, and that is not enough. The second reason why I haven't returned is, so I'm from Cameroon and there's not a lot of funding, both private and public. Okay, so the government is not interested in doing a lot of research. So it doesn't make sense. I would have to rely on charitable organizations like the Wellcome Trust, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but I don't have the CV yet to be competitive for some of those grants, okay, that would take me back, okay. So I feel that I need to build a profile and a portfolio and a network that is competitive for those types of international collaborative grants that would involve exchange with partners here, but the research is done in Africa, right? So those are the few reasons why I haven't gone back. So I decided to go to Ghana instead of Cameroon. So I'm originally from Cameroon, but I decided to go to Ghana because there's a World Bank funded center at the University of Ghana, and the WACPIP, and I've been there 3 years to teach, and they are well funded and they have the right equipment and they take students from all over Africa. And I think this is a good place for me to start to build a network in Africa. Cameroon is not that advanced in terms of research. So the projects that I currently run in Africa has to do with food and sustainability in the long term. So the disease that I work on is not much of a human problem anymore. So sleeping sickness, African sleeping sickness, there are only about 3,000 cases across Africa, and there's a drug for it at the moment. Okay, so but the second problem with the disease is that it affects animals. So those who depend on meat, on livestock agriculture for subsistence. If your cattle is infected by African sleeping sickness, then there's less production, okay? So what we're doing now is trying to collect samples or to look at the infectivity in some areas, okay? So in different farms, we're collecting samples from goats, from cattle, or from goats, cattle, dogs, just to look at the range across the animals that are infected in this area. And we think that by informing the farmers about the range of effectivity, we can suggest control measures in the long run. But this project is still very early. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about. How can we improve food productivity? How can we do research to inform farmers about the exposure that they have to different diseases to their cattle? So those are the types of projects. But here I run a basic science laboratory. So we do mostly molecular stuff in the lab. Mm-hmm. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Tome, I don't know if you'd like to add.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with just about everything Calvin has said. When I returned, okay, first of all, like I said, I'm a reproductive scientist, and my research was more into women who have troubles giving birth, preterm birth, and looking at all that surrounds that. And you'll be amazed the numbers of that in Nigeria, particularly, and in Africa, for different reasons, of course, but there's also some immunological basis to it. But I decided, okay, what is unique in doing this to help Nigerians? And one of it was looking into natural products. So I went into natural products chemistry and looking to develop drugs for that to kind of help in that situation. Now, that was extremely difficult when I went back to Nigeria. The funding wasn't there from within the country. And you find that I think just about everyone doing research in my institution use their own money, their income, which is not much in the first place, to get their research done. Students use that. But, I then had to work extremely hard to get grants from other bodies for my laboratory. And so students coming into my lab were funded under grants in my lab. Now, that was difficult. So it's easy to say, right? It sounds very good on paper, but that was very difficult because, like Calvin said, when you're applying for these grants, you need to be competitive enough. And being there with, in a resource poor setting, your CV isn't, very competitive, and what you know and the resources you have access to. I'm just going to give a very quick example. There was one grant I applied for from the US, and I didn't get it. And I was bold enough to ask, why didn't I get it? And the chair of the committee, wrote to me and said, in actual fact, I was the best, but the committee decided not to give it to me because they said I was based in Nigeria. And, I didn't have the resources, to work with that. I had to, come back, a second time, apply for it, and defended how I would use that. And that was how I got it the second time. So it's very difficult, when you're back in your country and you don't have all of that support, especially recent. I've seen people who've traveled, they've come back and they've just, I don't know, they sink into the system. So that's a challenge for us and going back. And I'm also going to say something. Working hard gets you positions like this as well, doing your best, even with those limited resources. One of the reasons I got picked for my position was I was actually picked based on my CV. My PI needed someone with my expertise. He looked at it, he saw it, and then he invited me in. And so, I took it because I know NIH is a very well-connected place. I want to learn all of these things, and then I can have that competitive CV. Imagine having that in your CV that you were once a fellow at the NIH and you're applying for any of those bigger grants. So these are all the things we need to become more competitive and be better for our countries.
Mm-hmm. Great. Emily, I hope that answered. Perhaps there is another hand raised here. Euclid, would you like to add your question?
I just want
Sorry,
add,
go ahead. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add a few things. So they all are right, actually. That's why it's not just keeping in your mind that so you have to go back. One day I was discussing with one of a very brilliant scientists in London. So, and I told him, so we talk a lot about brain drain. He thought, yes, that's right. There is a lot of brain coming in US, coming in going to US, going to the northern area. But rather than saying brain drain, we should say brain gain, because as you say, these people being there are able actually to bring people and to allow them actually develop their network, learn new things. And to be honest, we all are African. We know how things go there. There is a lot of things that actually hamper you to do your work. And it's not taking the risk going back and just being actually, as Thomas said, disappear. It's not matter doing that. It should be something that you think about and you prepare really. And indeed, wherever you are as a scientist, you need to really work hard to be a very good scientist, to have a very good CV, wherever you are, either in Africa or elsewhere. And the other thing is there is a lot of opportunity actually that allow African scientists to go back to Africa. We need also to look for those kind of opportunities. I wanted actually to take the floor because I know in Cameroon someone, that's for you, Kevin. I don't know if you heard about Kate. Yes, so this is a very good guy. He's, I would say, I will say, it's my mentor, Charles Wonji. He went to UK, he did his PhD, he did his postdoc, and he became one of the most influential scientists in UK, in Liverpool, and one of the most influential Wellcome Trust senior fellow. And now he's back to Cameroon, and he's actually supporting local research from everywhere in Africa actually to go back to Cameroon or anywhere they want to go. So this also has an opportunity we need to look at. We need to discuss with those people, get feedback from their experience going back to their country. There is a lot of challenges, but it's a matter of just having a fighting spirit, and making sure that whenever you decide to go, you have everything that would give you the opportunity to do your work independently. So that's the only thing I wanted to add on that. But they said everything. I was totally agree with what they said.
Thank you. Thanks, Elhajji. Euclid.
Hi, good afternoon for all. It's nice to have a meeting when you pass your experience. I think all of us here we have the same experience. We out on our country go to one country to do our master and the PhD, and some people return and another not return for the country. I have this experience because when I finish my PhD, my supervisor called me to go to do postdoctoral in Finlandia, and I have to choose to come back or to go to do my postdoctoral, because if I just go not to Finlandia, when I return, I have many knoll, many skinheads, and no area to work, and because that we can lost everything we was doing only PhD or as PhD or postdoctoral or master. Now I return to Angola, and I find many problems to do the things I was doing in my master or in my doctoral. I find many problems to write one paper, and when you have data, you write, you don't have money to pay the journal, and you have to publish in one journal when not have impact, but is free. If you want to do some work, you need to approbation for somebody. This somebody is policeman, and he not want people to know what's happening in the hospital, and close the door of the hospital. You can't take a sample to do your work. Africa is why I can say is one continent when to do science is not easy. Is for people with the many people want too much to do, because you can find other thing to do. You can do PhD in biochemistry or other PhD, and return you become a police, because you don't have to do polish. It's better to do science in our country, because that I told everything I just told now, but it's because I have some question to do for our for us, for yours, is you believe that what you are learning in your master, PhD, postdoctoral, I think you all are the three in research here doing more than one postdoctoral. The things you are learning, you can return in your country and put this science. You can use this science to improve the investigation on your country. Is the first question for yours. The second is in your project. In one time you did a project. In this time you are doing your study. You did one project where the sample you need to collect it in your country or another country of Africa. If yes, what's the problem you find? Oh no, if you do not have any problem. The last one is that you think that if you come back, you return for your country, you can learn all skills you have now, and you can lose the ability to do science all day, and because that you think maybe it's better to stay another country and doing project to help your country, or you think it's better to return and start in my country.
Thank you. Thanks, Euclides. I think so. There was, yeah. I don't know who would like to start. I think the first question was about the postdocs, right? What do you think about doing multiple postdocs, or if you think the skills that you learn? I'm not sure if I understood Euclides, or if you should be looking to do postdocs to get different skills, or if you think you should be looking to improve and to get more skills by doing different postdocs, or I guess when do you stop? But Elhajji, do you like to start? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think doing postdoc, I think after a PhD, there are some people that are lucky enough to be hired in where they are and start, let's say, junior research career. But sometimes you have to go through a postdoc. For example, for me, it was clear that I've learned a lot of things in my field, actually in doing everything in Senegal, from field collection to the lab work, let's say the basic lab work. I was able to do it in Senegal. Even when I was doing my PhD, I was autonomous. I was the only one designing things, going to the field, collecting my mosquitoes, coming back and doing all the lab work and writing my paper. I was really independent. But then I wanted actually, since I knew that I want to go, but I want to come back and be able actually to be competitive in my own lab. And since things I was doing in my lab, so people that told me was that they are much more, let's say, experienced. They had much more publication on that than me. I wanted to come up with something new, which was not in my lab. And then it was clear that to have those skills, I needed to go elsewhere. I needed to travel, to go to places where this is done. And since I was in medical entomology, I knew that LSTM was one of the leading laboratories working on insecticide, which I did my let's say my DA and my PhD on insecticide and malaria. I wanted also to build some skill on genomics. And it was clear that for that, I don't have that in Senegal. I wanted to do a postdoc. That was my first postdoc, and it was enough, to be honest. Because by the end of the postdoc, I submitted to a proposal, and I knew that I got it actually. I had to postpone actually my Welcome Trust project to do my second postdoc, where in Marseille, I was actually independent. I was the one leading the project. I was not learning anything else, but it was actually a matter of just building very good relationship. It's based on either if you have right after opportunity, then you do it. If you need some skill, you sometimes need to go and do postdocs elsewhere. And sometimes you don't have opportunity to be independent, to start your work and do, and the only opportunity you have is to do a postdoc, probably waiting to have a better opportunity to actually be independent and do your work by yourself. So that's the answer I had. I don't know if Tome or Calvin want to add something else before we move on.
Can I just jump in and ask something? We are on time. This was supposed to be 1 hour. I just want to ask all of you if you are okay and staying a bit longer, the speakers, if you don't mind. If you need to jump out, is no problem. Brilliant, thank you. So anything you would like to add, Calvin or Tome?
Tome, do you want to add?
Yeah, okay. First of all, sorry, I'm not sure I quite got the question, But if you're asking why we did multiple postdocs and if we can take what we've learned already, and put that in our countries. Elhajji said something, Elhajji said, and I'm going to add something. For me, I have a goal. I know where I want to be and what I want to achieve. And I think that's one thing RF teaches you to plan ahead, plan ahead. That makes you a better and stronger scientist. RF is all about developing African leaders. And I think one of the things they found is we don't plan. We just jump anywhere opportunity comes. But then when you plan, you take what's available. And for me, a postdoc opportunity was what was available. And I jumped for it. I went and I learned something in my field and I brought it back to Nigeria. It's already in place in Nigeria. And one of that is working with human uterus and trying to find out what is going on there. It had to involve a collaboration between the hospitals and my laboratory. Now, that in itself was difficult because women, I don't know if in Nigeria, we're kind of, I don't know if I should say superstitious. Why do you want to take my womb? What's going to happen if you take my uterus? If anything happens, it's because you took my uterus and things like that. So you have to deal with more things, more difficult hurdles than you would outside the country. So a lot of this is difficult. So I took what I learned and I brought it back. But it was very important to be competitive and to also gain the trust of the outside world and bring that to where you are. And so when the opportunity came for this postdoc, I took it without questioning. If anything, the only other question I have was my family, because I realized that in developing my own interests, I was probably also affecting some things in my family. You have to put all of that into consideration if you're a family person. But it's important that I am here, take the opportunity and the things I'm learning here. Like Elhajji mentioned, genomics. Genomics in my country, Nigeria, is in infancy. And in order for you to get a lot of things done and meet up to discuss your policies, not just in your country and beyond your country, you need to be aware of all of these things. And so if multiple postdocs is what's going to get you where you need to get to, go for it. If you get other opportunities, go for it. But if you are not competitive enough, you cannot develop your country as you would like. That's my opinion. That's what's happened in my situation. Calvin, I don't know if you have anything else to add there.
I think I agree with what both of you said. And I think building your skills and setting the goals for those skills is really critical. So it's about goal setting, short term, medium term, long term. What do I need, to achieve that? And going back to your country, I think it's a country specific issue. You have to assess, what is the problem? What skills do I need to solve that problem? And is it possible, feasible to set up the environment to solve that problem? So those are the questions you have to ask. It's very difficult those are difficult questions to answer, but I think it's a country specific issue, a topic specific issue, and a person specific issue, right? And sometimes it's better to get people with experience to give you advice or experts in the specific area to give you specific advice on how to go about it,
Thank you. So I think it's all about planning, getting some help probably through mentorship, as Elhajji was saying. And Tome mentioned as well this training. So both Tome and Elhajji are fellows or ex-alumni from the RF. We had a seminar previously with them. So there is the link here in case you want to have more information. Then was another question.
What is RF? Sorry, I've just been...
Is the African Research Excellence Fund.
Oh, okay.
So I posted a link here on the chat in case you want to have a look. It's going to be the next fellow, Calvin. The second question, and I don't know if the three of you need to answer, perhaps one of you has more experience with this than the others. The second question was about getting samples from abroad, right, Euclid? How do you go about that? How easy it is? Things that you need to consider? I don't know if...
samples?
Yeah, samples from abroad. I guess it's.
If I understood, is how we actually deal having sample in our own country. Is it your question, Aklid?
Yeah, I did one question to answer for you. If in your studying, have one time of your studying when you create one project when the sample not is in the country when you are doing the studying. You have to take the sample in your country to analyze. If you did some work with this, and if you find problems or no, because I have some experience when people could not doing the finalists, the doctoral or postdoctoral because that, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, I think I'll try to answer in a broader way. So I am from Senegal. I have my research project which has field, let's say, sampling in Senegal.
Okay.
So I go to the field, I collect my mosquito in the field. We have lab to do some lab work, some basic molecular, let's say, analysis, ELISA, everything we can do it in the lab. We do it. Then we need to do, let's say, kind of genomic study. And we don't have, let's say, this fancy sequencer. But when I was actually designing my project, I made sure that the collaborator I had in UK, including Sanger Institute, LSTM, which have those capacity, that are collaborators in those projects. And in terms of just taking samples from Africa and sending them to let's say Europe or US, so you should make sure to have clearance. First of all, there is MTA, which is Material Transfer Agreement between you, let's say the African country or the African laboratory and the collaborating organization abroad. And there is also what we call actually the Nagoya Protocol. Some of the country in Africa has everything settled. Some of them still actually working on that. In Senegal, we have not yet finished, but what I did was we had our MTA, but also we made sure that we contacted those people that are actually leading the Nagoya Protocol and told them that we were about to send sample in UK, and they gave us clearance later. And then, so with all those later, we go to DHL, we let's say actually prepare our sample and give them all the clearance, and there is no problem actually sending those samples with all the requirements to make sure that they are well prepared. There won't be actually, so that's the experience we had. I had also to work with some sample when I was in Marseille. We used to work on bacteria because I wanted actually to start some project on microbiology. And they had a lot of bacteria. They isolated in Marseille in our lab. And since we have a lab in Senegal in ERD, and we wanted to duplicate also those work, what we did also was the MTA, and we sent back those bacteria to our lab in Senegal. But it was one lab, one being in France and the other being in Senegal. That was my experience in sending lab from Senegal to abroad and from abroad to Senegal.
And I know there are some people that need to leave. Okay, Pamela, sorry, I don't know if you just want quickly to ask your question, Euclid. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't want to put you on the spot, Pamela. Just in case you would like to, yeah.
Okay, it was just quick. So, what were the major problems that you faced whenever you went back to your home countries? And because Dr. Tomef talked a little bit about the system, so I would like to know how was it to deal with it and how you did it. And the second question, what would be for you the golden tips that you would give us, considering that, for instance, if we want to start a lab in our country, what would be the golden tips that you consider should be always there? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pamela.
Thank you, Pamela. Truth of the matter is, to answer your question in detail, we need a separate session. I'm telling you, because yeah, but and so feel free to contact me. Isabel can give you my email if you're interested to take this further. I know time is out, so I don't want to take too much time, but I'm just going to say this. I faced problems from financial issues, political issues. I'm not even sure if I should say gender issues, but that's fine. It's okay to say gender issues were there. You have to be strong. That's the first thing. You have to be really strong. You have to know your environment. Don't expect that everything you've learned and you've done will work in your environment. Understand your culture, understand the people you're working with, and be as diplomatic as possible. I think that's one of the strengths that helps me, because you're going to get frustrated. I got frustrated many times. And then what helped me was that my determination to make whatever I was going to do work. And I'm not even going to say everything worked. So not everything I wanted worked, but I'm thankful for the few successes, because I know I've impacted a lot of lives. A lot of times I decided to go beyond my institution, and I was reaching out to philanthropists in Nigeria. And one or two actually came through for us, but a lot of them, and I don't blame them. There's scam, people are worried, you have to overcome so many of those things, especially when you're asking for their investment into your research. A lot of them wants to know how it's going to profit them. So you need to learn a lot of skills, business skills, negotiating skills, and then of course the time to put your foot down and say, no, I want this done. So you need to, know when to be able to integrate in all of these positions. You need to develop strong leadership skills, because people need to see you. My country wants to see leaders. So you need to, come out strong, but understanding at the same time. Don't ram it down their throat that, I'm from whatever, UK, US, this is how it's done over there, and so this is how it should be done here. Not at all. You need to find a way to integrate that. And then I think I'm also going to say, the top tips is know what you want, understand your culture, be determined. There will be lots of failures. I was celebrated, actually, it's published by Elsevier for research advocacy. And they recognized my efforts in trying to bring, so I brought in SciFinder, I brought Elsevier to my institution, but this didn't happen overnight, it all stemmed from, but I'll tell you this, I think one of the things that helped was the fact that, when they look at your CV, they see you've had experience outside Nigeria. And so you bring these people and say, you want to have a discussion. But getting my institution to pay for some of those things was another problem entirely. So I had to go through some. So it's a lot of planning, negotiating. So be determined, be strong, go for diplomacy, understand your culture, understand your system. And we'll talk more after this, but hopefully those are some of the few things, that can get you beyond all of that.
I'm posting some of the links here. Yeah, brilliant. I'm conscious of the time. I just don't want to, hold you here. Otherwise, we might probably stay until tomorrow. Is there anything, Calvin, you would like to add, or Elhajji? And again, if you need anything, I think the speakers are okay. If you want to get in contact with them, I was just gonna probably ask if you can leave perhaps your LinkedIn profiles in here, so that people can reach out to you in case, take advantage of the network. Just final thoughts. Calvin.
Okay, thanks very much, Isabel. It's a pleasure to be here, to be honest, and I've really enjoyed discussing. And I hope we can continue to talk. If people want to contact me privately, I'm very happy to discuss things further. I want to say, it's good to always see the next generation. I'm part of this generation, because I don't think I'm that old, but that's the debate for another day. I want to say that science is hard, okay, but you have to work hard to succeed. And I think all of us here have a certain level of self-motivation, self-dedication, the professionalism that is required. And if you just put your mind to it and work as hard as possible, you will make it. Okay. Thank you very much. And one last thing, I just want to say, he talked about publication and not having funding for publication. I think it was Euclides who spoke about that. I want to say, if you have a publication, sometimes the journals can waive the fee, so you can apply for a fee waiver, and they would actually waive it.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have a good paper and it's good science, and you don't have money, journals can waive the fee. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Just so you know.
We spoke about that in the previous seminar. Yeah, that was something someone addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Final thoughts, Elhajji. Yeah. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you, Isabel, for having us here, and also Kelvin and Tome for sharing all this experience. I think so. We all benefited from this. So it's sharing experience is very good, and it's actually widen our network. So good to know you. Nice to meet you guys. And definitely, so I think you have this opportunity, being trained, interacting with people, and the last thing is, it's all about the life. So if you want something, work for him, fight for him, have this fighting spirit, set your goal, and be prepared that you will be facing a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges, and be ready to just not give up. That's the main thing to do. Whenever you fall down, that's a learning experience. Nelson Mandela used to say, so whenever I face a situation, I never lose. I just learn, or I rise up to become something better. And the other thing is, when you are scientists, we use mostly to focus on scientists, but also learn soft skills, something that is outside your field. And especially when you decide to go back to Africa, be ready to be the one doing everything. So I had that experience. So in UK, someone was there to manage my funding. Someone was there even for my trip back to home. I just give you a last I was working very hard at the lab, and I even forgot that I had a plan next week to go back to Senegal to visit my family for 3 weeks. I even forgot that because I was focusing and working on the lab. And the day before the plane trip, there was a secretary who did everything for me, even booked a taxi for me and told me, "Hey, are you ready? You know that you are going to Senegal this day." I was just no, I just forgot. In Africa, you have to do everything for you. And I experienced this when I was doing my Welcome Trust Fellowship. I am the one doing the financial management, doing the technical thing, being the PI, being everything. But the last word, you had a very great opportunity to be trained and to interact with people. Be ready, have this fighting spirit, and be ready to just face all the challenge, and good luck. And I'm sure you will get there. Thanks, Isabel, and thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time. And just a final thing, I want to thank Carlos Gulbenkian for the support in these activities. Unfortunately, I hope this is also unfortunately for you, this was the last seminar. I hope you enjoyed. And please do fill in the feedback form, because that really, really helps. Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks.
Bye.
Obrigada a
Thanks.
todos. Thank you
Bye.
all.
Thank you.
Bye.